This is file number 45353, People of the State of Michigan v. Jack Kevorkian.
In the 9 months between his arrest and trial for breaking Michigan's anti-assisted suicide law, Dr. Jack Kevorkian repeatedly defied the law.
And I hereby find Dr. Kevorkian over for trial in Recorder's Court.
The same day he was ordered to stand trial for Hyde's death, Kevorkian helped Donald O'Keefe, a 73-year-old man with bone cancer, kill himself.
Unfortunately, we are brought together again because of Dr. Kevorkian's, again, flagrant disregard, disrespect, and disobedience of our law.
Kevorkian was charged in connection with O'Keefe's death on September 15th and released on $10,000 bail. Kevorkian struck again a few weeks later. This time, Marion Frederick, a 72-year-old woman with Lou Gehrig's disease, inhaled carbon monoxide and died on Kevorkian's living room couch.
I'm going to cancel the defendant's personal recognizance bond based.
In light of Kevorkian's assisted suicide spree, Judge Jackson raised bail in the Hyde case to $20,000. But Kevorkian refused, as he said, to buy his freedom and went to jail, threatening to begin a hunger strike. 3 days later, a Detroit lawyer, opposed to assisted suicide, paid Kevorkian's bond just to get him out of the press. Kevorkian got right back to work.
The scene, a familiar one by now here in Royal Oak. Police converging on the apartment of Dr. Jack Kevorkian, which some now refer to as Death Valley.
The victim, or patient, this time a 61-year-old Illinois doctor, Ali Khalili, with bone cancer, died on the same couch on which Marion Frederick had died 2 weeks earlier.
This is the third charge that now comes before the court. I think a bond has to be set. I order a cash bond in the amount of, cash surety bond in the amount of $50,000, no 10%.
Once again, Kevorkian refused to pay bond and was removed to the jail where he began another hunger strike.
Let go of me, please. I'll walk. Just let go of me. This is not criminal.
Kevorkian, frail from his hunger strike, was released 18 days later after he agreed to make a simple promise.
I will not participate in the practice of what I call medicide, or physician-aided termination of human suffering, until the matter is finally resolved by higher courts of this state or by a vote of the public at large.
Kevorkian kept his promise and did not help with any more suicides before his trial began.
Your Honor, this time I call Dr. Harold Klawans to the stand.
The defense begins its case. Defense lawyer Jeffrey Feiger's first witness, neurologist Harold Klawans, explains what happens to people with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease.
Can't talk. Can't chew. Can't move your tongue. Can't swallow.
And what's the final result of ALS?
It's uniformly fatal.
Dr. Klawans reviewed Thomas Hyde's medical records.
His prognosis was for severe progressive disability with increasing respiratory difficulties and death.
Invoking the portion of Michigan's anti-assisted suicide law which allows doctors to relieve pain and suffering, even if it hastens death, Feiger introduces a line of questioning he'll repeat again and again.
Was there any method known to medical science that would in any way alleviate his pain and suffering other than the method employed by Dr. Kevorkian?
I know of no other method.
On cross-examination, Kenny mocks the suggestion there was anything medically sound about Kevorkian's prescription.
Would you or do you consider carbon monoxide a medication?
No, sir, not in the usual sense.
This time I call Sean Hyde to the stand.
Hyde reads from the letter his brother wrote Dr. Kevorkian.
I have made my peace, and I just wish to die with a little dignity I have left.
Have you ever in any way, shape, or form offered to cooperate with the prosecutor's office?
By no means.
Why?
I don't feel that Dr. Kevorkian should be prosecuted. He helped my brother.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Kenny.
No questions.
Next, Feiger calls Neil Nickel, a medical supply salesman. Nickel explains his connection to Kevorkian.
With the research work that we did on cadaver blood, we became friends. I worked with Dr. Kevorkian on, I think, 13 of the meticides. Yes,
Nickel worked with Kevorkian on the Hyde case. He says Kevorkian doesn't accept everyone who seeks his assistance.
Well, what if a patient simply says, I'm having a bad day, I got a headache today?
I don't think we'd be interested in doing a patient that said he had a bad day.
Thomas Hyde, was he having a bad day?
Thomas Hyde was having a bad life.
Feiger returns to the question of intent.
Did you want Thomas Hyde to die?
No, sir.
What did you want?
I wanted him to stop suffering.
On cross-examination, Kenny suggests Nichols isn't qualified to counsel terminally ill patients.
You're not a medical doctor.
No, sir.
Now Kenny enters the semantic thicket surrounding Kevorkian's intent at the time of Hyde's death.
The whole purpose of him breathing in the carbon monoxide was to end his state of suffering.
And the state of suffering was going to come to a conclusion not by virtue of the carbon monoxide helping relieve his symptoms temporarily, but he would die, correct?
We'll all die, Mr. Kenny.
In case anyone missed the point, Feiger calls 3 medical experts, all of whom say Kevorkian's treatment worked to end Hyde's suffering.
The effect of it?
Yes.
Was to stop his suffering.
It controlled and ended the pain and suffering.
He knew that that was the only way to end the horrible pain and suffering that he was enduring.
This time I call Margot Janis to the stand. Are you related, Mrs. Janis, to Dr. Kevorkian?
Yes.
How are you related?
I am proud to be his sister.
Janice, a retired executive secretary, works closely with her brother.
I have been present at every counseling session of every one of his patients.
She met Hyde on the same evening Kevorkian did.
Did he appear that he knew what he was doing?
Yes.
Did he appear to be in great suffering?
Very.
How so?
Extreme.
Tell us.
When I can tell you only that when I first saw him, I dashed for my handbag to get my Kleenex because it was suffering that even I could not bear to see. I got the Kleenex because I began to cry.
Janice agreed to spend the morning of August 4th with Tom Hyde's wife, Heidi, at the Hyde's home. Janice describes Tom's mood when she arrived.
He was totally calm and serene.
Was he waiting for you?
Yes.
Kenny starts his cross-examination with questions designed to cast doubt on Janice's assertion that Kevorkian helped Hyde die in Royal Oak and then drove to Belle Isle to report the suicide there.
And why was Belle Isle selected as the place to report the offense?
Because it's a very beautiful isle. Yes, a very pretty scene and a very nice place at that hour of the day.
What did the beauty of Belle Isle have to do with your decision to report it there?
Adding to the dignity of Thomas Hyde's life. He deserved that, at least.
Kenny's next line of questions is designed to show the jury Kevorkian is an odd and shady character with dubious professional authority.
Mrs. Janis, isn't it true that as of the date of July 1st, 1993, the date of the meeting with Heidi Fernandez and Thomas Hyde in Novi, your brother, Dr. Kevorkian, had his license to practice medicine in the state of Michigan was suspended?
But as I said, he is always and will be always a doctor.
Pressed on this point, Janice concedes the licenses were suspended. Kenny doesn't ask why Kevorkian lost the licenses, so the jury doesn't know they were suspended after he was charged in connection with an early assisted suicide. Janice, however, is offended by the suggestion there is anything suspect about Kevorkian's practice.
There's nothing sinister in what Dr. Kevorkian does. Nothing. It's the law that's sinister.
Kenny concludes his cross with a series of questions designed to show, once again, that the idea behind Kevorkian's medicides is to end people's lives.
Mrs. Janis, with regards to these other meticides that you had referred to, there were others involving carbon monoxide gas, is that correct?
Yes.
All of those individuals died when the carbon monoxide was administered?
They ended their suffering, sir.
The following exchange, in which Janis goes so far as to refuse to say Kevorkian's patients die, foreshadows the kind of hair-splitting argument we'll hear when Kevorkian takes the stand.
And they are deceased?
They are no longer here.